Hey everyone, by request, I am going to work through questions 8 and 9 on the review packet. This comes from, let's see here, page 3 of the non-calc problems. So I'm just going to work through these, kind of talking through my thought process as I approach each of them, and we'll kind of work from there. So on 8A here, they are asking me log base 3 of 27. That asks the question 3 to what power equals 27? And I know that 3 to the third is 27. We're done. Over on part B, where my attention is drawn to first is this natural log of e to the base, e to the eighth. So I'm not going to do anything with my log base 2, but I can simplify what I see inside the parentheses. That natural log and that e as a base will undo one another. So this problem's really asking me to take log base 2 of 8. 2 to what power is 8? Again, that's going to be 3. Moving on to C here. We have a problem here where we're going to just condense our logs. So I have the common log base of A. So this is going to become log base A of something. Well, x is positive, so that will go to the numerator. And y is negative. It also has a 4 that can become an exponent, so that is going to become y to the fourth in the denominator. And there we have our condensed log. Moving on to problem D. This is a problem where we are, again, going to be condensing. I have, in all three cases, a log base 6. So I know the result of this is going to be log base 6. Any positive values are going to end up in my numerator, and any negative values in my denominator. So I can see that my first two terms are going to be positive. It's going to be the cubed root of y. That's a cubed root because that 1/3 can become an exponent. And then we also have times x to the third power. In our denominator here, we're going to have a to the fifth. And that is our condensed log. One more here is finally problem E. So we're taking the natural log of all that we see here. So this is the same as the natural log of e to the sixth plus the natural log of y to the e plus the natural log of z to the third. So we're going to keep simplifying this. This first term, the natural log of e to the sixth, that's just going to be 6. This next problem is going to be, this next expression is going to be e times the natural log of y, and then we're going to add to that 3 times the natural log of 2, and that's where we're going to end this particular problem. So in problem 8, we're really using our log properties to make sure we're feeling comfortable moving back and forth. I'm going to move along to to section 9 here, just solving some equations for a few different approaches. So what I notice on part A is that I have 2 exponent bases that are the same. So if I added e to the 15th to both sides, that's a 3x, I can basically ignore those bases. I can say that 3x must equal 15, so x equals 5. In a problem like this, what I notice first is that I have 2 separate logs. So if I want to rewrite this using exponent rules, I'm going to have to rebase this. Not rebase. I'm going to have to condense this before I do that. So in this particular problem, I'm going to have the log base 4 of x times x minus 6 all equals 2. So I've condensed those 2 logs into a single log, and now I'm going to rewrite this using exponent rules. So I'm going to distribute. I'm going to have x squared minus 6x, and then on the other side of my equation, I'm going to have 4 squared, which is 16. So now I'm going to go ahead and add 16 to both sides. So x squared equals 32. X equals plus or minus 4 root 2. But we always have to check to make sure our answers are within the domain. So we are actually going to exclude the negative version of this answer because we would have a domain restriction here. Our one possible answer is 4 root 2. All right, let's keep moving here. I can look at problem C next. This is a quadratic. I can see that this is x squared minus 5x, and it's a quadratic, so I'm going to set the equation equal to 0. I would try to factor this first. This is not factorable. Completing the square is probably not a great plan with a odd number there, so I think the quadratic formula is probably our best bet. So 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 4ac. Now that is a plus because our c value is negative. All of this is divided by 2. So this is going to be 5 plus or minus the square root of 105 all over 2. And I'm thinking about 105. I don't think it will break down any further. I think we are good there. So let's just look at 2 more here and see if we, 3 more, and we'll finish these up. Here I have a quadratic, but it's an inequality. So I'm going to solve the related equation. I'm going to do that through factoring here. My x-intercepts, if I were to place them on a number line, would be -1 and +9. So I have 3 intervals that I need to test here. My first interval I'm going to set up as -∞ to -1. My second interval I'm going to set up as -1 to 9. And my third interval is going to be 9 to infinity. I'm excluding the endpoints because the symbol I was given in the problem also excludes those endpoints. So now I'm just going to test a value. So if I were to test, let's say, -100, I'm going to have a negative times a negative, which would result in a positive. That would mean this first section does not work. The next section here, I'm going to test 0. That's going to be -9 times 1. That is a negative number. That is less than 0. So the second interval does work. And then I'm just going to, again, use 100, a large value. It's going to be a positive times a positive. So the only interval that will work for this particular problem is -1 to 9, excluding the endpoints. All right, so the next problem, again, we have an inequality. This is a rational inequality. So I'm going to set up my endpoints here. That's going to be a little bit more complicated. I need to take into account 2 things, my zeros and my asymptotes. So -3 would make the denominator 0. I need to exclude that endpoint because that would be an undefined value. So my next interval is going to start at -3, and then it's going to end at +3. But that endpoint, I'm going to include. I'm going to include that endpoint because if the numerator were 0, then I have an equal to 0 situation. My final interval that I'm testing is 3 to infinity. So we're going to go ahead and test just like we did on the last problem. I'm going to test a very large negative number, let's say -100. That's going to leave me with a negative divided by a negative. That's positive. That's what we're looking for. My next interval is -3 to +3. So let's just plug in 0 there. If I were to plug in 0, I would be left with -1. That's not a positive number, so that doesn't work. And then I'm going to go ahead and test another value, let's say +100. That's going to give me a positive divided by a positive, so that works. So when I write my answer for this particular problem, I'm going to include both of those intervals that worked. So that was -∞ to -3 in union with +3 to infinity. Pay attention when we're dealing with rational inequalities. We always need to be careful. We need to know which endpoints are zeros and which points are asymptotes. This endpoint here was an asymptote, came from the denominator, so we exclude it. This endpoint here was a 0, it came from the numerator, so we include it. One last problem here we'll take a look at together. This is a trig equation. I'm going to work backwards here. So I'm going to have 2 times the cosine of x equals 2. I'm going to divide both sides of my equation. So cosine of x equals 1. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for, they've given us a domain from 0 to 2 pi. Where does cosine of x equals 0? Well, that only happens at one place. That happens when x equals 0. And we are done with that section.